Adam is the author and illustrator of more than 40 books for kids, including the New York Times bestseller, Frankenstein Makes a Sandwich, Choose First Day of School, which, by the way, you wrote with Neil Gaiman. I was so excited about that.
Neil Gaiman wrote it. I illustrated it.
It is it is brilliant. I was so excited by that.
Thank you.
And let's not forget my all-time favorite here. Are you scared, Darth Vader? Right? So wonderful. Adam, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Adam's here to talk about his book, Pluto Gets the Call. So I must admit, Adam, I am shocked. What do you mean Pluto is not a planet? I remember learning this many years ago. Pluto is the ninth planet. It's way out there. Can you read the pages of your book where Pluto is informed of this shocking news?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's see. When you and I were kids, everybody told us there were 9 planets, and every list of the planets ended with Pluto. It was Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And so here's the part of the book where Pluto gets a phone call, and it says, "Hold on a second, that's my phone. You got Pluto." "Oh, what a coincidence. I was just talking to someone from Earth." And he's like, "I'm sorry, I should take this." Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What? What do you mean I'm not a planet anymore? Why am I not a planet anymore? Oh, okay. Thank you for calling. And then you may know that Pluto has a shape on it that looks kind of like a heart. So Laurie Keller illustrated Pluto's heart breaking as he learns that news. And I imagine a lot of people probably take from this that I am really outraged and up in arms about Pluto's demotion. But to be honest, I get it. We were approaching a time where we had to kind of make a decision, or at least the astronomers did. I didn't have anything to do with it. But we were going to have to either decide a new definition for the word planet that would give us fewer planets and kick Pluto out of the club, or we were going to have to start accepting that actually there's other planets out there. There's a lot of other planets that we now call dwarf planets like Pluto, but there's a chance that we're just going to discover more and more of them. And astronomers were starting to look toward a future where we might have 20, 50, 100 planets. So they decided to change that word because it's just a word and it only means what we all decide that it means.
That would make it incredibly hard to make those models that we always made in school if you had 20 or 30 behind it as opposed to just those 9.
Right, and they're getting smaller and smaller if you try to do it to scale because they get really small. Pluto is not even as big as Earth's moon.
Right. Well, Pluto is still incredibly cool. And Adam, you spend a lot of time not only describing Pluto, but also all the other things that he discovers. When he finds out he isn't a planet, he decides to visit some of his cosmic friends and sort of let them know. What does he find out about all these other features within our universe?
Oh, there's so many kind of just interesting, really so many great little facts about the planets that there was, I really had to make a lot of choices about what am I going to say. I only have a little bit that I can say about this planet or that planet. And then every now and then an interesting fact would stick out to me. Like, for example, I have to admit, I'm not an expert. My wife's the expert. Like Serafina earlier, my wife is actually an astrophysicist as well. Planets aren't her specialty, but still she helped me find the resources that I needed to write a book, because I really did want to write a book about the solar system. And, before I started this, I thought Mercury must be the hottest planet. It is the closest to the sun, but it's not. It's Venus. And Mercury is so interesting in that it's hot and cold. If you were standing on Mercury in the sun, you would burn up. And if you were standing on Mercury in the shade, you'd freeze. And that blows my mind, that there could be such amazing extremes on one tiny little planet that close to the sun. So I learned a lot in the course of making this book. I'm not too proud to admit that a lot of the stuff that I put into this book is stuff that I didn't know before I started. but I just, I took my wife's advice and I found the right resources online that she told me that I could trust, and I got out and learned, and the kids who are watching could do the same thing.
I think my favorite part is when you talk about all the different planets that have rings. And I didn't know they all were very, very different. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, there's, I think we think about Saturn having rings, but the truth is that um, Uranus has rings too, and I didn't know that when I was a real little kid. I don't know when they discovered it. I don't expect that when I was real young, I was, you know, like constantly on the cutting edge of learning every little thing that the astronomers knew. But Uranus has rings too, uh, and there's an amazing ring of stuff that exists between Mars and Jupiter called the
Mhm.
asteroid belt, and there's another ring that Pluto is in called the Kuiper belt that is this giant ring of rock and ice that exists way far out away from the sun. And there's probably more beyond that, because the funny thing is we can learn a lot about the universe looking very far away. When my wife was getting her PhD in astrophysics, she was part of a group that was building a telescope that flew up to the edge of space and was looking way out into the beginnings of the universe, really, because the farther you look, the farther back in time you're looking. And she was looking for some of the stuff that Serafina was talking about earlier too, the birth of stars. And it's amazing that we can do that, and we can look, 10 billion light years away at stars being born, but we're not really sure what's in our own backyard just out
Mhm.
beyond Pluto, because it's a lot harder to see something that isn't making its own light. So it's very possible that we're going to learn that there are more planets out there beyond Pluto, maybe really big planets out there beyond Pluto that we just don't know about yet.
Well, I can't wait to find out. Adam, at the end of your book, it's my favorite part of your book. You say that Pluto is a planet for everyone. Can you explain that?
My idea with this book was to end with consoling Pluto that Pluto is actually even more special now, really, than maybe Pluto was when I was a kid, because now Pluto is the planet that doesn't get to be a planet anymore. So I say that Pluto is still a planet to everyone who was too short to ride the Ferris wheel, to everyone who ever put $7 in a claw machine and still didn't get the hippopotamus they wanted, to all the people who picked last for kickball. Pluto can still be a planet for them. Because honestly, the astronomers can have their word planet, and we can all have our word too. It's up to everyone to decide what that word means to you.
Adam, I think you've convinced me. Pluto is now my favorite, and I'm going to say it, planet.
All
I'm
right,
convinced.
I can't
Thank
stop you.
you. Thank you.